We thought Christian McCaffrey had Achilles tendonitis in just one leg, but it turns out it's both. Ryan Hensley and I will discuss that and more next on the Best 49ers YouTube show. What's up? Welcome to Cohn and Hensley. We are the hosts of the Best 49ers podcast, which just started today, and it's been voted the Best 49ers podcast. So make sure you download and subscribe it. The link's in the description. Breaking news. It's not even really breaking. John Lynch said it on the radio on Friday, and he said, Christian McCaffrey has bilateral Achilles tendonitis. And, of course, no one knows what bilateral Achilles tendonitis means. It turns out it means that it's in both of those legs, both of them. And that's not great. It seems like it started off in one. He was rehabbing, trying to come back, overuse, let it spreading to the other one. How does this news make you feel?
Not good. That's my analysis. Not good.
There it is, everyone.
The thing that makes me automatically and despite maybe popular belief, I'm not a doctor, but when I think about this situation, it makes me wonder, since it's both, feels like an accumulation injury, which we kind of thought it was even with just one leg. But with two, it really seems like that's what it is, like a usage type thing. And it makes you wonder, would Christian McCaffrey be going through this right now if they used Jordan Mason more last year? When Christian McCaffrey wouldn't be subbed out. If they made him stand out, let Jordan Mason get some run. If they made that happen, would he be going through this right now? That's what it makes me jump to. Obviously, I'm assuming, but that's what I'm speculating on, and it feels like that's correct.
Yeah, to me, this is like roster politics gone wrong. You knew Jordan Mason was a good running back, but he was an undrafted free agent, and even though he was averaging 6 yards a carry, you couldn't really justify putting him on the field when you traded like 4 draft picks and you were spending $15, $16, $17 million a year on this running back that the ownership was invested in. And it's tough to get them to sign off on it, although it was Jed's idea, and then turn around and be like, that running back that you guys spent all that money on, you love, and he's the face of the team. We're going to go with Jordan Mason for like half the carries, and it'll be okay because it'll preserve Christian. That there's a lot of pressure from just the whole organization, and then pressure from Christian. That's documented. He had no guaranteed money left on his deal. As we know, he was angling for a restructured deal with guaranteed money. So he was going to fight for every touch and every carry so he could goose up his numbers and have the most leverage possible, and paid off with an Offensive Player of the Year award. So there are a lot of reasons, but still the right thing to do would have been to play Mason.
Here's the question. Look, Christian McCaffrey is a great person, great teammate, one of the best running backs to ever play the game. But why is no one talking about this contract that he got, that the 49ers gave him, despite him having this injury? Like, people are ripping Brandon Aiyuk for getting paid and then coming out and not playing like himself for these first 4 games. But at least he's playing. At least he didn't try to get a contract while he was injured. I mean, I think this is something that should be talked about, that's under talked about throughout from the fan base, the media. Like, why did they give him a contract when he was injured? It doesn't seem like a smart thing to do.
Yeah, and about a month ago, I had that report from a source that said that the owners of the team, the upper-ups, the financial people, were not pleased with the financial status of the team, and the source pointed specifically to the Aiyuk and Trent Williams contracts. As you just pointed out, neither one's looking great, but because Aiyuk definitely doesn't look like a top 5 wide receiver in the league, although he's paid that way, and Trent Williams, it's debatable if he's still the best left tackle in the league, but at least they're on the field. The worst contract, the one that really should be angering the financial, the bean counters the most, or the check writers the most, is McCaffrey's. And it's not just that he has bilateral Achilles tendonitis. And it's not just like frustration with him. It's potential, not just anger, but anger at Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Like, did you guys know that he had Achilles tendonitis and give him an extension anyway? Because if so, and he never plays again, or he's compromised, and they don't win the Super Bowl, and they start a gradual backslide, feels like a fireable offense.
There's a couple things that make me mad about it, and we talked about them. But the first one is, it feels like it. He was 27 years old last year, running back. He's been in the league for a long time. If you look at his previous history, when he had as many touches as he had last year, the following season he played 3 games. So you have the history there, right? And then they go ahead and they use him so much. Like all of us, everyone was talking about it. Even the biggest 49er stands were talking about the usage from CMC last year, and it seemed like it was inevitable. That if you keep playing him this much, he's going to get hurt, and then he gets hurt in week 17. It's the same injury he's dealing with now. It's the exact same injury he's dealing with now. And now we find out it's both legs, so it seems avoidable. So that's frustrating. And then the other thing is you went and paid him guaranteed money knowing that he's dealing with this without clearing him first. Like, it just, both of those moves seem like mistakes.
Yeah, and it feels a little foolhardy. Like, don't you know his history? Don't you know who this is? It's Christian McCaffrey. He played in Carolina for a long time and had these issues. Not Achilles issues, but injury issues. Like, he's supposed to be a Hall of Fame caliber running back, a bell cow, someone that you can run your whole offense through, your running game, your passing game, a number one option in every single way. And he was that in Carolina early on. Like, I'm looking at his numbers right now. In 2019, he was all pro, first team all pro, led the league in touches, led the league in yards from scrimmage, led the league in touchdowns. He did that at 23 years old. It's incredible. Are you thinking like this guy's a Hall of Famer? The next year he had 76 touches. Year after that, 136. So to me, like the story of Christian McCaffrey's career, it may not be over, but it's a guy, a little running back, a scat back, a guy who's built like Reggie Bush, who maxed out his body and had a few seasons, 2, 3, 4, where he was the best running back in football. But I don't think his body could handle it. I don't think he could.
It's funny, man. I was talking to Croc this morning on a show, and he was like, man, I thought Christian McCaffrey was going to be a slot receiver when he got to the NFL. He would have got paid more, and his career probably would have lasted longer, and he probably would have been all pro at that as well. Yeah, man, when you play running back, you just look at trajectories. When they hit 28, for most running backs, when they hit 28, they're done. And I hope that's not the case for Christian McCaffrey. I hope, not only do they get their money's worth, but us as fans get to see him back to his old self and playing for the 49ers this year, and maybe it'll happen. But it is a little sketch.
But let's just come back to earlier. If they miss the playoffs, they're 2-2. If they miss the playoffs and the owners just determined that Kyle and John knew about this, like Christian he injured his calf on New Year's Eve, week 17 last year against Washington. He left the game. It was a calf injury. So this stems from that day.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Yorks sour on Kyle for any reason and are looking for a reason to trade him or run him out of town, this is it. I mean, it's not the Aiyuk one. It's not the Trent one. It's not only did you give all this money to an older running back, you knew he had this injury and you were friends with his dad. Like your dad is friends with his dad. It feels very, like family-ish.
Yeah. You went to his wedding.
Yeah. It's just a bad look all around.
You got to make the tough decisions. And, that's the thing is with CMC, he's so great. But like maybe you want to see him cleared to play in a game before you give him a new contract. Maybe that just do that. Like, let's see him be cleared to play in a game before you give him a contract. Start there. CMC, we would love to give you the guaranteed money, but we need to make sure you're healthy first. Like, let's see if you can get you acclimated to play a game, and then we'll take care of you. That would have been the move.
Okay, what's interesting about the Christian McCaffrey injury is that even without him, and he's the number one threat in their offense, anytime anyone faces the Niners, their game plan is shut down Christian if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Even without him, they have the number 2 rated offense in the league right now in yards. Last year, it was number 1. This year, number 2. So they're finding ways to, reinvent themselves. How do you think this can benefit the team, and how do you think they're doing without him?
Well, they're doing, I think where you see the missing, like you see the difference from missing CMC is in the passing game and in the red zone. That's where you miss Christian McCaffrey. From a running standpoint, Jordan Mason is the second leading rusher in the NFL right now.
Mhm.
They have no problem running the ball with just Jordan Mason. Where you miss Christian McCaffrey is, I talked about it before, he has that gravity, kind of like Steph Curry, but in the passing game. With Jordan Mason, it's not so much. And I think that's where you're really missing him.
Yeah.
But what worries me the most, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but what worries me the most is now because they don't have Christian McCaffrey, all they have is Jordan Mason. It seems like they're doing what they did with Christian McCaffrey now with Jordan Mason. And they really need to make a move at running back there.
Well, I mean, before they did it to Christian McCaffrey, they did it to Elijah Mitchell. So it's sort of how Kyle Shanahan operates.
But like when they went on that Super Bowl run, they mixed it up, right? They had Mostert and the other guy. Like, get back to that. Get back to that. And I'm surprised they haven't made a move there. Like, go after a running back. There's got to be somebody out there.
I got some football history for you.
Okay.
So like 20 years ago, the Giants had Eli Manning. And he was good, but they were early in his career, they weren't doing a whole lot in the playoffs. And the offense wasn't built around him. It was built around Tiki Barber, who was really freaking good, especially later in his career. And like Christian McCaffrey, Tiki Barber was the kind of guy who would lead the league in touches, yards from scrimmage, touchdowns. Like, he led the league in touches in 2005. I mean, he was the offense. And then he abruptly retired after 2006. And if you remember, a lot of people wrote off the Giants like, man, what are they going to do without Tiki? Boom, they won the Super Bowl. That's the year they won the Super Bowl. Right after he retired, he was their best player. And all of a sudden, Eli Manning, I mean, they didn't have a great year, but he got hot. And it was his team all of a sudden. It wasn't Tiki's team. And I think that's an important evolution. You're not going to win a Super Bowl if your running back is the face of your team. If your running back is your best. It's just it. Terrell Davis did it. But who the hell? I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson couldn't do it. It just seems like you have to have your quarterback be the guy. And now finally Brock is in a position where he can become the guy. He's been the guy so far this year. They're 2-2. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl this way, but this is how Eli did it too. Like, they'd have these mediocre freaking seasons, right? And then all of a sudden he'd get hot and he'd be playing like he had this confidence about him that even his brother didn't necessarily have. I feel like Brock's a little like Eli. I don't know. That's my parallel of the day.
I see the parallel. I do. It does seem like Brock's the guy, but I also wonder if Jordan Mason's name was Christian McCaffrey, would he be getting more attention and love than he is right now? If Christian McCaffrey was here doing the same thing that Jordan Mason is doing right now, would we still be saying that? I feel like some of the stuff is his name.
Or the same thing with Purdy, right? Like, Purdy doesn't get credit because he was a 7th round pick, and no matter what his numbers are, you're like, yeah, but. Right. And with Mason, what if he had just happened to be a 1st round pick? And then he goes off like that. You're like, man, this guy's the next Derrick Henry, isn't he? God, who runs harder than this guy? But right now, he's just another Bobby Turner, Kyle Shanahan creation, which is maybe true, but like, you can't coach a guy to run that hard and break tackles like that. That's a God-given gift.
No, and you make a good point in regards to Brock Purdy. He does. I have been thinking about that the last few days. You know, in the past, it seemed like he was, maybe the 4th, 5th best player on this offense. Right now, it seems like he's 1 or 2, probably 1. And that probably doesn't happen if CMC is here and if Brandon Aiyuk is playing to the way he played last year. And if Debo was old Debo, it does seem like Brock is possibly the best player on this offense.
Also, he gets to be the playmaker now. Like, in the past, there would be a lot of pressure if 1, 2, 3 isn't open, check it down, get it to Christian, let him be the playmaker because he's great. And of course, he's a better athlete than Brock, but Brock gets to throw the ball. He gets to throw the ball forward. So when he scrambles around, there are bigger plays potentially. And it seems like now that he's not so eager to check the ball down and get the ball out of his hands, these extending plays, and some good, some bad, but mostly good. What I like about Brock Purdy, it seems like he doesn't make the same mistakes twice. Like in the Rams game, he had Brandon Aiyuk open deep on a post, saw him, didn't throw it. Comes back next week, throws 3 of them, hits 2. I love that about Brock. As Jimmy just goes in the tank, he's not throwing posts anymore. Like, oh, that's good information. You could have told people that before you signed your contract. Brock actually doesn't run from his mistakes. He faces them head on. I like that about him.
In 25 games, Brock Purdy, for me, has gone from a guy I was like, is this the next Jimmy? Seems like a playmaker. Like my first view of him in preseason was like, seems like a playmaker. I don't know about his arm talent. Just like all 32 teams that passed on him, that was the issue. They were worried about his arm talent, but he did seem like a playmaker. And I was wondering if he's dink and dunk. To 25 games later, this dude's legit top 10, might be the best player on the offense. So Brock is really good, and I don't know if this happens necessarily without CMC. You're right. He's not dinking and dunk. He's not taking the dump off to Jordan Mason like he would if Christian McCaffrey was here. And that's another benefit. The other benefit, which we saw last night, and I was glad that we didn't see this focus. Seems like if CMC's gone, they focus on Debo. And they didn't do that in this game yesterday. They spread the ball around evenly, and that's another benefit, I think, of not having Christian McCaffrey there.
And I think what's interesting about Brock is you and I were both skeptical with him. And we're probably most impressed now with him when statistically, this is his worst stretch of his career. His best stretch was 2022 and then the first half of 2023. But in 6 of his last 8 starts, his quarterback rating's been below 90. 6 of his last 8 and 7 of his last 10. And it's like, that's not good. But if you watch, you can understand like, okay, but defenses have caught up to how the Niners are using him and he's having to adjust and Christian's out and like guys aren't as open as they used to be. And he's having to make plays. Like this is a whole adjustment process that Jimmy never made, that the best players make. Okay, I'm a target. I'm a playmaker. People are studying me, finding my weaknesses and doing their best to exploit them. Now I have to confront that. And he's doing it. I think that's pretty cool.
That goes to show you that these people that just throw out QBR and passer rating, you're not giving analyzation. You're giving statistics. I don't care. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Anyone can look that up. It's on Google.
Jimmy Garoppolo had great statistics. We know what he was. It's more about like what you see and the confidence. That was something I thought Brock was going to have coming into the season. I said it before the season. I think Brock's going to come in with more control and more confidence than he's ever had. And obviously that made sense. And I think you see it. And in this last game particularly, looked very comfortable, pushed the ball downfield. The interception didn't even bother me because he was stretching the field so much. They were already up. He took a shot. It is what it is. Wasn't a good pass. Aiyuk was double covered. You don't want to do that. Obviously, you want to avoid that. But I like that gunslinger mentality. If you have a quarterback that's these guys averaged 20 – Jennings, 29 yards a catch, 19 for Samuel, 24 for BA, 11 for Kittle, 18 for Mason, 12 for Juice. No one under 10 yards. So when you have an explosive offense like that and you throw a deep shot and it gets picked off, it doesn't bother me. It bothers me when you're dinking and dunking and throwing the linebackers and getting interceptions. But if you're stretching the field, it doesn't bother me at all. So I'm happy with Brock.
I mean, it would bother me if he didn't give the answer he gave. Like with Jimmy, if he throws that pick and you ask him about it, his attitude would be, guy made a play. I'm not accountable to you. Plus we won. Leave me alone. With Brock, it's like, yeah, no, I threw that pick and I hold myself to a higher standard than that. That pissed me off. I'll tell you exactly why I threw the pick. I got greedy. I was forcing it to Aiyuk. Generally, I go through my progressions in a particular timing and I was hitching and staring. It's not how I play quarterback. It's like, dude, I love you. Thank you for being so honest. It's almost like he's in confession at church. And what he's saying is like, I'm not going to do it again. And I believe him when he talks about it like that. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to do that again. And you understand why he's trying to force the ball to Brandon Aiyuk. There's all this attention on Brandon and money and pressure. But you know what? That's not his problem. That's Brandon's problem. That's Kyle's problem. So if he ain't open, if he's double covered, keep it pushing. Scramble.
So not only statistics, QBR rating, the other thing we heard that's been squashed by this little stretch of, 4 games by Brock Purdy is this whole quarterback wins thing, right? Your quarterback can play well and you still lose, or your quarterback can be mid and you still win. That, as well as the yak, right? Yak is a quarterback stat. We've been hearing that for 3-4 years. That's an offensive stat. If your receivers aren't the same, if your offense isn't being dialed up correctly, it's an offensive stat. It's the unit, and wins are a team statistic, and I think that's being proven wrong right now with what we see from the 49ers and Brock.
That being said, though, like when Purdy gets his contract and you're making $60 million a year, then the wins are very much on you because you're taking up so much of that salary cap space. And fair or not, I think we're learning, like Brock is learning how to win when he's the driving force. We know he can win when he's a supporting actor and it's all about getting the ball to Christian and just distributing. Like, he's great at that. But what if Christian's out and he has to, and they rush 3 and he has to make a play? Can he win that way? Like, we know he can be productive that way. He's proven it. But against the Rams, he lost. And he had that throw to Aiyuk and he hesitated. And to me, like, he's learning how to be the catalyst of victories and he's improving. Like, that's why I feel like he's a much better quarterback than he was last year. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the league catching up to him. I don't think it is. I think this is him catching up to the league catching up to him.
Yeah. The thing that I still want, so to me, there's still a couple things that I want to see from Brock Purdy. He has improved for me. Before the season, I had him like 8 to 12. To me, he's easily in the top 10. If I really broke it down and analyzed, which I haven't, he'd probably be higher than 10 if I really looked at it. I haven't done that yet this year because it's so early. But there's 2 things he still needs to prove to me and Kyle. It's really a Kyle and Brock thing. Brock is, 0-5 against 4 coordinators. And like Jesse pointed out, Kyle's 1-9 against those
Flores, Spagnuolo, Schwartz, one more.
Yep. And the guy on the
McDonald,
okay, that they're going to see on the Seahawks. So those 4 guys, Kyle's 1-9 against, and Brock is 0-5 against. I want to see Brock Purdy and Kyle because it's both of them. Kyle's had a problem with those guys, so he needs to dial it up for Brock, and Brock needs to be able to handle it and adjust. I want to see those guys beat a good defensive coordinator like that because they haven't had success against that. That's one thing I want to see from Brock. The other thing I want to see from Brock is not against the Patriots, against a good team or just any team in general. When you have Brandon Aiyuk deep for a game-winning touchdown like he did against the Rams, I want to see you pull the trigger and win that game. Those are the 2 things I like to see from Brock. They would put him up in the upper echelon, and I'd call him elite at that point.
And that's, to me, like why you can't call a quarterback elite after 25 starts, because he's still improving. We saw it from weeks 3 to 4. There's a moment in a game under pressure. He doesn't have 10 years of, I'm down 4 in the 4th quarter. These are the plays I have to like. It's not enough to be like, I made the throw to Ronnie Bell. He dropped it. We would have won. Like, nah, franchise quarterbacks make many throws coming back. And this isn't a position he's been in very much. So he needs experience. He has experience in college. He needs experience, this kind of experience. As he gets it, he improves. You see it from week to week. So depending on how he develops over the next few years, by the time he's 27, he might be elite. But calling someone elite before that age, man, you better be really certain about it. Like, even look at CJ Stroud, hell of a quarterback, but inexperienced and is going to have weeks where he looks awful. And that doesn't mean he's awful, but it might mean that he's not quite yet elite.
There were people calling Jimmy elite because of his numbers, because of statistics, and
a small sample size.
Yeah, exactly.
Like someone like Stafford, it's like, man, I've been watching you do this since I was in college. You're in Detroit, and I can see like what you were bringing to that Lions team and how they held you back and what you add to the Rams team. Like, you are truly elite. Yeah. You've proven it over a very long time. Maybe some weeks Purdy's better than Stafford, but Stafford is better than Purdy. At least until Purdy gets a little older.
Yeah, and to clarify, because people get very sensitive when you talk about Brock Purdy, I'm not saying he can't become elite. He could do those things.
I think we're both saying he can. Yeah. And we see that. We're saying he's still improving, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's still young. What is he, 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still young.
That's right. I think Montana won his first Super Bowl at 25. Something to keep in mind. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, on point, Ryan. CMC may never be the same again.
I hope he is.
Yeah. Raziki says Kyle used the York bank account to set a retirement fund for CMC. He knew what was up. Kyle needs to go 0-18 2 years in a row for Jed to stand up to him. Weak. Wait, hold on, Raziki. Wait a second. I appreciate the $10. Let's go slow. Kyle used the York bank account to set up a retirement fund for CMC. He knew what was up. We can't prove that. But if that's how Denise and John feel, then that's a big deal. Kyle needs to go. Then you go to this, that Jed won't stand up to him. I don't think it's about Jed. I think it's about Denise and John. If Denise and John feel played, if they feel Kyle did what you accuse him of doing and he misses the playoffs, there could be consequences. That's the issue. Denise and John. It's their money.
True.
Riziki, you speak so much. Well, some truth. Slant Route says, how differently should CMC be used once he's back?
Sparingly, like we've been saying, sparingly.
If he's back. Neil says, rank him: Jeff Garcia, Jimmy, Cap, Alex, Brock.
Yeah, that's tough, man. If you're talking about in their prime, Cap had the best 1.5 year period out of all of those guys. Now, it seems like to me Brock's going to be better than all of those guys. Alex not in the conversation. Sorry, Alex. Jimmy's not in Jimmy's not in this conversation. Alex is barely here to be talked about. It's really Jeff, Brock, Cap. Cap had the best 1.5 years, I would say. I don't know. I know you're a big Garcia fan. How would you rank that? It's really Garcia, Cap, Brock. How would you rank those guys? Because the other two are not in.
Damn. I didn't even see Alex in there. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to put Jimmy at the bottom. I'm just not a fan. You saw what happened to his career once he left the Niners. I think he was just a fraud. I think he was the arsonist. All the bad things I ever said about him are true. Jimmy at the bottom. Not a fan. Couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't ad-lib. No. After him, above him, one spot.
And are you talking about peak or career? Because you could argue Alex had a longer, better career, but
yeah, I'm going to have to go Cap too. He had a great 1.5 years. He was also on a killer team. He's great in the playoffs. He's really good, but it was 1.5 years. Then above him, I'm going to put Alex Smith. And I don't know if I can justify it. It's just that you saw what happened to his career when he went to Kansas City. I felt like he was on some really bad teams. He was hitting his stride with the Niners. He got hurt. Kaepernick came in and was also really good. Maybe Kaepernick was better than him for that 1.5 years, but I don't know. I can't justify it. But I'm going to put Alex Smith like a hair above Kaepernick. Then to me, who we got? So we got Jimmy bottom, Cap 2, Alex 3, and then we got Brock and Garcia left. I'm going to be an old head and just say Brock and then Jeff. And the only reason I'm saying that is because Jeff went to 3 consecutive Pro Bowls with the Niners. He was older. He didn't have the team success that Brock had, but he didn't have a defense. He had Terrell Owens. And, Brock has weapons too. So Brock is on his way to surpass Jeff if he hasn't already. And I talked to Jeff on the phone one time. He heard that I compared Brock to him, and he wanted the clip so he could show his family because everyone thinks so highly of Brock. So maybe Jeff would disagree with me on this one himself, but I would still put Jeff a little bit above Brock just for the reason we said earlier, man. It's been 26 starts for Brock. He's well on his way to passing up Jeff. But
I think Brock could pass up Jeff, but I will say this. If you're
they're similar players. They both have that ad lib, at least, especially when Brock runs around.
But I got to say this, that Cap run was better than anything any of these guys have done.
It did coincide with the zone read, defenses in the NFL hadn't quite figured out how to stop it yet. RG3 was really successful with that. So I think that's a big reason why the Niners went to Kaepernick when they did. It's look at all the success that the Shanahans are having with RG3. We could do that with Cap, and they did. But so, yeah, I mean, maybe on the Niners, Cap was his 1.5 years eclipsed what Alex Smith accomplished here. But Alex Smith had a nice career beyond on 2 different teams.
As good as those Niners were with Cap, in Cap's prime, he was one of the best players in the NFL. He was winning playoff games by himself.
He was.
I know he had a great team. He had a great team.
And Alex Smith never really did anything in the playoffs, even with Andy Reid. Yeah.
So I got to speak on that part.
I feel you on it. Quality over quantity says, even though I'm a Seahawks fan, if I see you at the game versus the Niners, can I still get a pic with you, Grant? Hell no. Absolutely not. Niners don't deserve you, Grant. Come on to the good side. All right, absolutely. You can see me eat one of them Seattle hot dogs. Do you know what a Seattle dog is? You heard of this?
No.
They're a real thing. They're all around the football stadium, which is Seattle is an epic tailgate. It's the whole downtown. It's very Midwesty. It's like Denver or something. And they have these Seattle dogs. They're kind of large. They have I want to say grilled onions on top, and the secret ingredient, cream cheese. A lot.
Sounds horrible for you, but possibly delicious.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You hear cream cheese on something, you're like, ew, that's too much. And then you eat it and you're like,
Can I tell you?
kind of works. Kind of works.
My wife has like this ridiculous metabolism.
Mm.
She takes Cool Ranch Doritos and dips them in cream cheese, scoops cream cheese, and just if I did that,
I'm gonna try that. We're gonna do it together next time we hang out. I'm bringing that. That sounds phenomenal, by the way.
It is good. It's horrible for you though. Yeah.
L. Curtis says, any trades in mind for the Niners?
Not a particular player in mind. No, I haven't looked into it or thought about it, but
yeah, that's a good question. It's almost time for trade season. Let me get back to you on that one. Aru Illustri says, I was thinking the same thing as Raziki. I could see Ed McCaffrey talking to Mike Shanahan to influence Kyle. Hey, man, they better not get caught doing something like that. Fish and Chip says the Oakland Cones could have beat New England nothing game. Yeah, there's that.
Cones.
Grant, thoughts on Luke McCaffrey? Commanders look decent.
Should have got him.
Adam Peters doing good.
They should have got him. Yeah, Adam Peters is doing great. The quarterback, I missed on a lot of quarterbacks, but 2 years in a row, I predict the best quarterback coming out of the draft. And man, he has 80. I think he has an 82% completion percentage through 4 games, which is nuts.
You're much better at scouting quarterbacks than Kyle.
I am.
Legitimately.
Look, as much shiz as people give me for defending Trey Lance, I would have never spent 3 first-round draft picks on any of those quarterbacks.
Me neither. Yeah. So, none of us were like, hey, you know what the Niners should do? Take 3 years worth of first-round picks and trade up not for the first pick, not for the second pick. But what's crazy is, like, in retrospect, even if they had gotten the first pick, they would have lost the trade. Yeah. People talked about that draft class like it was the reincarnation of 1983, which was John Elway and Dan Marino and Jim Kelly. And it was just a bunch of busts. Even Trevor Lawrence. God, he's awful. He's so bad.
Yeah.
Terrible.
He did the Jimmy spin around in the pocket thing the other day.
That's when you know you're done. All right. Let's do some sleeper picks. So I want to point out my picks coming up for Thursday Night Football.
Balling.
Is this for tonight? Yeah, it's for tonight, right? Seahawks, Lions. Mm-hmm. Is that tonight? This is what I got. You know what? People need to see that. Let's get our own right now. Right now. There's 2 games. You got to watch that Seahawks Lions game. That's the one to watch. Yeah, Seahawks Lions. Let's do that. Let's start with the Lions because they're. I don't really actually. No. Lions, Montgomery, anytime touchdown or 63.5 rushing yards. How do you feel about Montgomery?
Anytime touchdown or 63. They're going against Seattle.
He's had a touchdown 3 games in a row. And they like to run the ball into the end. I mean, Jamal Williams was their guy beforehand. I think he led the league in rushing touchdowns. I like that one.
That means he's due not to, doesn't it? No,
because the Seahawks are missing a bunch of D linemen.
Do it.
You almost talked me out of it, and that kind of pisses me off. All right. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the other dude that got paid hella money, 73.5 receiving yards. He went for 13 week 1, 119 week 2, 75 week 3. Now he's going up against Devin Witherspoon in the slot. What do you think?
It is Monday night. I feel like these guys always want to do their thing on Monday night. What is his receptions? How many receptions? Do they have that as an option?
Ooh. Yes. Yes. 6.5. Damn. It's kind of tough.
Sleeper picks is good at this. They know, like,
they are.
Well, what makes it makes it tough.
What about a touchdown though?
What do they got?
What about a touchdown though?
Let's do that. Let's do that.
You think yes on the touchdown or no?
I feel like I think we're disagreeing on everything. So I'm not.
I think I'm just looking for reasons to fade Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's overrated. Maybe it's the contract. It's funny how you look at someone different when they make a lot more money than you. You're like, you know what? Criticizing you.
I'm hating.
No,
I don't have any feelings. And if I don't have a feeling, I usually avoid the bet. So if you have a feeling, I say go with that.
Okay, definitely not an Amon-Ra St. Brown fan today. How about
Goff? Let me look at those yards, bro. He's pretty damn consistent.
238. That's not that a lot. It's not a lot.
Here's the thing. I think Seattle's going to give them a hard time, and he's going to have to pass his way out of it. I think that he's going over.
I'm going to defer to you on this one. How about, can we get like some easy ones, like some like awful offensive players who definitely won't score touchdowns? Oh, I like that one. Tim Patrick.
Who the
Definitely
hell's
not
that?
scoring a touchdown.
Who's Tim Patrick?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Let's see if he scored a touchdown this year. Nope.
Nope.
This is what I love about sleeper picks. When they throw these in, I'm like, oh, found it. It's like finding Pokemon. It's like, oh, that's a rare Pokemon. Tim Patrick.
See, some of these other apps, I won't mention them because they may or may not sponsor me. Don't give you the option of doing that. You have to.
This is why Sleeper's the best. How about Noah Fant? He hasn't scored a touchdown this year. Why would he score one in this game? Noah Fant. No, his name is No. No, you're not. Noah, you're not scoring one. Sorry, that wasn't very creative. Zach Charbonnet. Touchdown anytime. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Charbonnet. It sounds like an alcohol of some sort, and it's Monday night, and it looks like he does it often.
Charbonnet. I want to name my kid Charbonnet. Charbonnet Cohn.
It sounds like some kind of wine. Well,
Chardonnay. It sounds like a combination of like.
I'm not a drinker, so I don't really know, but it sounds like it should be.
It is. Chardonnay is a white wine. Charbonnet is a
I happen to
running
know,
back for the Seahawks.
I happen to know Lowell Cohn likes a good white wine. So he
does like a good white, but he prefers a good red. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. I think
we need one more.
Okay.
Gino, where are you at? 255.5 against a good defense. Pass touchdowns, 1.5. Ooh, Gino.
No.
What do you think?
No. Yeah.
Oh, the combination was blocked. Hating on us.
By the way, the thought process on these selections is pretty high.
I think I win a lot. Let's go to DK. I just decided to audible at the line of scrimmage. DK Metcalf, receiving yards, 72.5. He went from 129 and 104 last two games. Now he's going against Samuel Womack. You know that Samuel Womack starting for the Lions and balling?
Is he really? I know he's on the Lions. I know he's starting. Is he balling though? I didn't know that. That makes me mad.
Yeah.
He's going against the Womack. Are you sure Womack's matched against Metcalf? Because hey, I'm happy for Womack, but Metcalf is a big.
So let's go for the more on Metcalf on that one.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I'm gonna lock the entry and I'm gonna flex it just because, but I'm gonna put down $25 because look, I got funds in my sleeper account because I've been winning. Submit the entry. Bingo. So here's the thing. You want to play, down the app, the Sleeper app. Use promo code Cohn, COHN. That's the Jewish spelling, not the ice cream spelling. It's a whole different thing, COHN. And when you do use that, you get automatically entered to win 2 tickets to the 49ers Week 8 Sunday Night Football game against the Dallas Cowboys. Wow. That's what an offer. Also, Ricky Pearsall jersey. He's coming back soon. The jersey's right there. It's just so many things could happen for you if you download Sleeper app and use promo code Cohn. Okay, let's go around the roster, give our thoughts position by position following the second win of the season.
I mean, Brock, we talked about that. Brock, probably enough. He did good.
Yeah, I think we covered the quarterback.
Yeah, Jordan Mason, I think we talked about.
What about the other running backs like Garendo? My God. And then Kyle Juszczyk. I'm sorry. It's getting to the point where I'm a little annoyed when he's on the field. I'm like, dude, it's not your fault, but like Jennings is clearly better than you. And why is this guy on the field like 45% of the snaps? The whole Juszczyk thing. He almost caught a touchdown pass yesterday, but it's like, do they run the ball better with him on the field? I don't really. I'd like to get some stats, yards per play with him on the field and yards per play with him off the field. I think they need to turn the page on the Juszczyk era.
I think they will next year. Here's the thing. Jordan Mason, he did 24 carries, 123 yards, fumbled twice. People aren't talking about that because they won. But he fumbled the ball 2 times, and both times were unforced fumbles. And the other guy that had a fumble, Isaac Garendo, damn near had a Mark Sanchez butt fumble. I think it was a back fumble, not quite a butt fumble. I don't know what's going on with Jordan Mason and Isaac Garendo when it comes to fumbling issues, but they got to fix that because a better team is going to capitalize on those. So those are 2, one maybe negative. Brock threw a pick and we fumbled 3 times. The Patriots didn't capitalize on it. Other teams will. Jordan Mason is running good. Outside of that, there's not much going on there.
Juszczyk is playing 59% of the offensive snaps, and it's pissing me off. Sorry.
We got 0 carries and 1 catch.
Like, no, your receivers are too good for you to be messing around with a guy who's going to finish the season with 200 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns. Like, no, it's over. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can run the ball without him. You don't need him in there.
And then if you look at the carries, Jordan Mason 24, Debo had 2, Isaac had 1. And that's it. Like, they got to get some, like Jordy Ace has signed Matt Breida. I thought they would have done that a long time ago. Matt Breida fumbled in the preseason, but other than that, he looked good to me. He understands the offense. I don't know. What does Patrick Taylor look like? I don't know. I want to see, because I don't know if Isaac's the answer in this season. They need a second running back outside of Debo, outside of Juice, that can take the load off of Jordan Mason.
Agree. Yeah. It's too bad they don't have one. They traded up for a running back in the draft. I forget who it is, but he's not. Okay, let's go tight end. George Kittle. Can I just say something real quick? This guy, he's dealing with injuries. I don't know what kind of a season he's going to have, just because he's been breaking down since last year, but damn, man. If he stays healthy, he's going to be all-pro again. And if he's first team all-pro for the 3rd time, I think we're looking at a Hall of Fame career. One of the best tight ends I've ever seen. And when he actually gets targets in the end zone, he freaking catches them. This is a guy who could have caught 60, 70, 80 touchdown passes in a career, but he just didn't get the opportunities. Great player.
You know, I looked at some statistics for George Kittle last year. I can't remember what they were, but he actually gets more targets than we think. But it just doesn't feel like enough because of how talented he is. It feels like he's still being wasted because he's so damn good. And you see that for you. Yeah, let me hear
this season he's played 3 games. He missed 1. 17 targets. 15 catches.
Wow. Yeah, he's
like, good things happen almost invariably when you throw to George Kittle. And it's just something they don't do enough. Now his body's breaking down. Maybe if they really press the issue with Kittle, what's happening with McCaffrey would happen to him. So maybe they understand, maybe they know what they're doing and they've managed him well. But damn, when they decide that it's his day, always comes through. Hall of Fame player.
My only pushback on that is you could argue that blocking defensive ends and linebackers is a bigger challenge and harder on your body than running routes.
True. No question about it. I mean, I think the reason that Travis Kelce had so much longevity in his career is that he wasn't blocking very much and he wasn't breaking tackles, as opposed to Rob Gronkowski, who's like the big version of Kittle, whose career really like slowed down by 29 just because of injuries and play style.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But one thing I want to say about George, because I just gave him way too much praise, and it's primarily because he gave me a pair of shoes. He needs, for him to really be a legit Hall of Famer, he needs at least 1 good game in the playoffs. And it's not all his fault because he doesn't always get the opportunities, but he doesn't have 1 good game in the playoffs yet in his entire career. So that's something for him to aspire to this year.
There's 2 things, and we'll get to them, but there's one thing you could do that would help a lot of people: invest in the offensive line, helps free up George Kittle, helps Brock Purdy. That's another reason why you don't get to see George Kittle often, probably in the playoffs, because he has to stay home and help block. But yeah, that's tight ends, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Receivers. What an interesting position group.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the snap counts. Aiyuk like 81%, Debo 75-ish, 76, and Jauan Jennings 55. And yet Jauan Jennings, this was just from this last game, and yet Jauan Jennings is the leading receiver. The targets kind of evenly distributed. Kyle Shanahan seems a little scared of pissing anyone off. He started all 3 of them and sat Jordan Mason on the first play of the game just to not piss anyone off. What do you think of this delicate balancing act the Niners have at this position?
I actually liked the game yesterday. They all looked pretty even throughout. I think Brandon Aiyuk, when he had his opportunities, did good. He was wide open on that first pass that was long. He made a nice diving catch on that short, was a 10-yard catch from Brandon Aiyuk. So I thought Brandon Aiyuk did his job and did what was asked of him. Only 2 catches for 48 yards, but they spread it around evenly. Debo had 3 for 58, had the deep shot, which was huge. Jauan Jennings had a deep one, 3 for 88. I was pleased with all of them in the game yesterday. This is the kind of offense I want to see. It's kind of like basketball, right? Like, you see all these basketball teams who are just playing ISO, focus one man. Well, who won the championship last year? The Boston Celtics, and you don't know who's going to beat you that night. It could be anybody. And that's the kind of offense I've been wanting to see from the 49ers from a passing game standpoint. And I think we got to see it yesterday. So I was happy about that.
And that's why, like, when Purdy finally threw that pick up multiple scores in the fourth quarter, in the end zone, forcing into double coverage, it's like, whoa. You, even without Christian McCaffrey, man, you got Jennings, you got Kittle, you got Debo, you got Aiyuk. So if Aiyuk's open, like on that first big throw, absolutely. But if he's double covered, I'm guessing someone's singled up who will win. And this year, it seems to me that Debo isn't quite the receiver he used to be. He's having a good year, but he's not having the yards after the catch. Aiyuk having a slow start. It might take him some time to become the Aiyuk that we remember. Right now, your go-to guys are Jennings and Kittle. Right now. And maybe not Kittle as much because he's a little bit older and injured, but right now, Jennings is carrying the offense. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, let Jennings and Mason be the workhorses in September and October because you know you're going to want those other guys to be more featured in December and January.
It should be a meritocracy. Whoever's playing the best, regardless of their contract, relationship, that's who it needs to be. But also, drop back, see who's open, pass to them. Who cares? Don't try to focus or feature on somebody necessarily either. One thing I want to make a point about, you talk about Debo might be past his prime. Feels like he is. If you look at who Debo Samuel is, he's a wide back, which means running back and wide receiver. You look at the way he's played the position throughout his career, he's played it very much like a running back. When he has the ball in his hands, he runs like a running back. He's literally takes handoffs from the backfield like a running back. And what is that stat that we talked about early with CMC? When a running back hits age 28, statistically, it's been proven they have a sharp fall off. And that's how old Debo is.
What I love about football, too, is like coming into the season, you think, well, Brandon Aiyuk is better than Jauan Jennings, was better than Jauan Jennings, and always will be better than Jauan Jennings. Just like, Stephen Curry will always be better than Klay Thompson. But football is very much about how much you work out that offseason and how explosive, how strong, and how healthy you are right now. And right now, Jauan Jennings is just in better shape than Brandon Aiyuk because he did the whole offseason and Brandon did none of it. So that means that right now, Jauan's better than Brandon. It doesn't mean he was better last year because he wasn't. Although down in the Super Bowl, he was. So this has been a trend for a minute. But right now, I feel Jauan's the best wide receiver on the team. He may not be in a month. He may not be in a year. But that's what I like so much about football. Like all of a sudden, a guy just finds himself in the prime of his career and you didn't see it coming. And you don't know how long it'll last. But right now, Jauan is in his freaking prime. He is at his absolute peak. I don't know if he could play much better than he is right now. It's a lot of fun to watch.
You know what feels missing to me with Brandon Aiyuk? Well, it just kind of came to me right now. It feels like he kind of isolated himself. That's what feels like what's missing from Brandon Aiyuk this year. You don't see the celebrations with his teammates. You don't see him really like chopping it up with his teammates, talking to his teammates, helping him. Like he just seems like he's alone out there. And I think that's what's missing. It's uncomfortable probably for everybody, himself, some of the things he said or done throughout the offseason. I think that's what's missing. He didn't get the training camp with these guys or preseason. And hopefully that develops over the season and they get back to it and he becomes more part of the team. But, and I could be full of shiz. I don't know what's going on.
You're right, dude. I feel like his body language has supported that. He just seems like a little unhappy to be there. And it's like, why? Well, he got paid, but maybe he said some things that he can't take back. And maybe his teammates look at him a little sideways now. Like, we don't need you. We heard what you said. We're fine without you. Like, maybe he's put himself as like persona non grata down there. Like they work together, but they may not all be super close. And if you've been in a working environment like that, where you go to work, but you don't really talk to anyone and you kind of want to leave, it's not fun.
It's what if it feels like that right now, and it could change, but and I could be wrong, but that's what it feels like when I'm watching. It's just I'm trying to figure out what's missing. Like there's something missing with BA.
Well, when he wore the red shorts, to me, he's making a statement. Like, I'm not one of you guys. I'm separate. You guys wear black, I wear red. You guys wear blue, I wear green. Like whatever it is, I'm a little different.
I hope that fixes. I hope that rectifies. I think they're going to need that to be corrected if they want to make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll take a couple supers and get back to our topic. Riziki says, who wins the NFC? Be real.
Be real from Cypress Hill? I don't know.
I mean, I don't feel I still feel like the Vikings are kind of frauds. Even though they're so good, I just feel like they're going to fall off sometime because of Sam Darnold.
Here's what the Vikings seem like to me. They seem like the Niners with Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback. They are a very good team, well-rounded, got good coordinators, got good coaches. But do you really believe Sam Darnold has a better arm and he's not scared to pull the trigger like Jimmy? But I don't believe in him. At some point, and it might come into playoffs, he's going to see ghosts. He's going to lose the game for them. You got to convince me longer than four games. I'm not buying in on Sam Darnold yet. I mean, I could be wrong. It's happened before.
I'm with you,
but
man.
I just can't. You can't flip my mind.
Them and Washington are like the new teams on the block, and they both look very promising. And maybe, but right now I still think it's Niners and Detroit are the teams in the NFC that have playoff pedigree. I don't know. We'll see.
I called it before the season. I said Detroit Texans Super Bowl. I don't feel as confident as I did before the season, but I'm going to stick with it for now.
Okay.
I say Detroit.
RWJ all day says, Grant, you've had the pod on streaming platforms and didn't tell us. You've been killing me, bruh. Yeah, for years. Make sure everyone, it's a good time. Make sure check out the link in the description. Click on it, download, subscribe, 5-star review. This is the best 49ers podcast out there. It's me and Ryan. It's 5 days a week, and it's just started yesterday. It's great.
It's not only the name. It's not only the name, but it's also a statement.
Well earned. Like, you know, when you go to New York and it says like the best pizza in town, and they just said that, like they wasn't actually rated. We were rated the best podcast.
Literally just open, and it's the best pizza in town.
Yeah, it's credible. That's like us. Brendan Green says, trade for Joey Sly and Juice should return all kicks. I love it. Joey Sly was on the Niners. Now he's making 63-yard kicks. Okay, offensive line.
They look better against the Patriots. They actually had some of the highest PFF scores on the team for what that's worth. The rookie, who I can't think of right now, Dom Pooney, actually had a really good game from a PFF standpoint. Colton McKivitz had a good game from PFF standpoint. But with everything I say about the 49ers based on Sunday, I always got to follow it up with it was the Patriots. So show me against a better team. I'm just not a believer.
Like, oh, you were good in pass protection? Like, name one pass rusher on that team.
I can't.
So, yeah. Yeah.
I
mean, like, Colt McKivitz is still going to be a problem, like, down the stretch for this team. Whether, like, when they play the Lions eventually, like, it's going to be Aiden Hutchinson on him. It's going to be a problem.
Absolutely. And Trent Williams still not at the level where we've seen from Trent Williams either. He did fine yesterday, but he's still not reached that Trent Williams level that we're accustomed to. I don't know if he will. He's older.
We should address this. Gabriel Boyce still can't admit that Darnold is far and away better than Lance. I think what we're learning is that with Lance was the biggest project of any quarterback we've seen. And he's still a work in progress, and we still don't know. But for what a team like Minnesota wants, they don't want a project. They want a cheap quarterback who knows the system, who can function if you give him the best wide receiver group, a hell of an offensive line, and 2 good running backs. That's what Darnold is. If you put Lance in that situation, you still got to coach him up. You still got to develop him. So I always felt that the difference between them wasn't big enough to give up on developing Trey. And it'd be interesting, like, they could have kept both of them last year, got rid of Brandon Allen, and had Trey Lance as a backup this year. So I think that's the distinction that I would make. And congratulations to Sam Darnold for doing so well in Minnesota. Like, we made fun of him a lot, and it's good to see a guy overcome all of that and have a successful year.
Yeah, I mean, and so far, so good for Sam Darnold. But if you ask everyone who was at training camp last year, and not just me, not just Grant, 99% of the people that were at training camp last year, you didn't see any difference between Darnold and Lance. Lance looked just as good as Darnold. Darnold looked just as good as Lance. It was kind of neck and neck. And at times, it looked like Lance was better than Darnold.
I got a stat for you, too. In the preseason last year on the Niners, passing, Trey Lance's quarterback rating, 101. Darnold's quarterback rating, 100. Well, it gets spookier. Lance, 22 of 33. Darnold, 22 of 33. Lance, 285 yards. Darnold, 282. Lance, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Darnold, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Like, it was neck and freaking neck. So, I don't know. Do we really know that Lance would suck on the Vikings? I don't know. Because it looks like to me on the Vikings that Darnold isn't the reason 1, 2, or 3 for why they're so good.
A lot of people want to make Lance the butt of jokes. Yeah, he's made $30 million. He's 24 years old. Sounds like a joke to me, but a lot of people want to make Lance the butt of jokes. right? Just like they did Darnold. Darnold was the butt of a lot of jokes for a long time, and look at him now. So we'll see, man. They're both Lance is still very young, man. He's still younger than Brock Purdy, I believe.
That's true. Okay, that's enough Lance for today. D-line.
D-line, man, was impressive. It makes me wonder how good Hargrave is. I don't know. But I know Kevin Givens, man, 2.5 sacks. Nick Bosa set the record for – Nick Bosa had almost as many pressures yesterday as he had the first 3 weeks, and he set the record for the quickest off the line or something like that out of any defensive pass rusher the entire season in the NFL. So Nick Bosa created a lot. A lot of that stuff Givens got was from Nick Bosa and the pressure he was putting on. He got a sack. Who else got a sack? Oh, the rookie, the Evan Anderson, undrafted free agent, got a sack. I was impressed, but let's back it up to what we said. It's the Patriots. So we'll see. I was impressed. Now, Sorensen dialed up blitz 30% of the time. The most he has all year. They were averaging 13% blitz rate. And yesterday was 30%. I think that's a big part of it too. And it seems like every game he's blitzed more and more progressively through 4 weeks. And I hope he continues in the direction because it's working.
I think look, the D-line was really good. They played harder. Hargrave went out. They stepped up. Kevin Givens, Malik Collins, all these guys. It's like, yeah. But I think it's important to remember, kind of like week 1, the Niners offensive line did super well week 1, but it was like, yeah, but Kinlaw's out there. Like, let's not forget. With the Patriots, their center went down right away. And I think they came into the game without their left tackle. So we saw a Niners D-line that's got a lot of talent take advantage of an offensive line that was missing some starters, as they freaking should. That's the expectation. Yeah. But when they go against an offensive line that's healthy and talented, they still have a lot to prove. But if they had struggled yesterday, that would have been a big problem. So far, so good.
And shout out to Sam O. I don't want to say I always butcher his last name, so I'm gonna say Sam O. He looked good too, man. That's the blessing in disguise when guys get hurt. You get these younger players, and man, the Niners don't play a lot of rookies because they don't think they understand or they're not acclimated or whatever. But you're missing out on so much time on lower contracts, and I feel like that's a waste. So it's good to see these young guys get some play.
For shizzle, linebacker.
I mean, Fred Warner was possibly MVP at least of the defense and only played a half of football. Hopefully he's healthy.
He's like the front runner to win the defensive player of the year. He's on a mediocre defense and he played half the game. Like, damn, he's good.
Hella good.
Hella good.
There's really no words for how good Fred Warner is so far this year. He's playing better football than he ever has. And I
just didn't like what he did after the game. He goes up to the microphone. He's like, oh, it's been a minute, man, but we're back. And then he goes, Dub City. I'm like, that is so forced. Come on, man. Wait. Like, you guys have been to 2 Super Bowls and 4 NFC Championship games. You know what that reminded me of? Remember when, who's that basketball player that no one likes? The guy who plays defense too hard and just fouls people all the time. And then he won that playoff game, playing game. What's his name? And he's in Beverly. Patrick Beverly celebrating getting into the playoffs in the playing game. Like, come on, man. You just beat the Patriots week 2. Like, don't do the Dub City. That's my only thing with Fred. Sometimes he's like corny.
Yeah, he's a good.
You know what I mean?
He's a good face.
He's a little corny sometimes.
He's a good, you know, he's that corporate CEO type, and he knows what his job is, and he does it. But yeah, I feel you.
Because he's a pretty straight-laced guy from San Diego. And then sometimes he's like, no, I'm like Mr. Football from Alabama. It's like, nah, dude. Like, you're just the dude. No. But anyway, great player. Hall of Fame player for sure. And then after him, Demetrius Flanagan fouls look slow, chasing that one play down to the sideline. Devondre Campbell's still Devondre Campbell. I liked when they got D Winners out there because at least he moves fast.
Yeah, one of the big bummer stories of last week that not a lot of people are talking about is Curtis Robinson blowing his ACL in practice because he should. I was hoping he was going to get an opportunity to go out there and replace.
I was trying to speak that into existence.
Yeah, because I really like what I saw from him in the preseason. Unfortunately, he's done for the season, man. That's an unfortunate, sad story to be real.
DBs.
It was good to see Malik out there. He got his first start. I don't know how much he's going to get because Huff probably be back pretty soon. He did miss a couple of tackles, but again, it reminds me of Huff, man. Huff was always around to play, not quite converting, always around to play his rookie season. And then his second year, he started making plays, became an all-pro. Malik is extremely talented. When Fred Warner got that interception, I don't know if you guys saw, but Malik laid out an offensive lineman return blocker for Fred Warner. I love Malik, man. I know he missed a couple tackles, but I think he's going to be really good. Jair seemed okay. I think he led the team in tackles. Travarius looked good. Demo, great. Demo's having a hell of a season quietly. Yeah.
Demo's having a hell of a season. Let me get his numbers real quick.
Yeah, and it's not getting talked about, right? When you're a really good corner, you don't get talked about a lot because, you know.
He's giving up a quarterback rating of 66.5 according to Pro Football Reference. This is a guy who's going to be a free agent next year. In hindsight, would have been nice to extend him instead of Aiyuk this offseason.
Yeah, and I like Demo, man. He's one of my favorite players on the defense. I don't know if you saw. He said an expression my dad used to say. I think they got it from Muhammad Ali. If you see me fighting a bear, help the bear. He said that.
I like that. One more thing. Mustafa starting. I wonder if the Niners would have beaten Minnesota if he had started instead of George Odom, who gave up a 97-yard touchdown. Wonder.
Possibly. It's still a tough matchup to guard Justin Jefferson. Yeah. But he was tough. People sleep on Malik's speed. Malik was clocked at 23 miles per hour in college, which is hella fast. Like people sleep on him. He has fast play speed.
Okay, last position group. And it's a good one.
I can't think of who it is.
It's special. Special teams. They've been bad in every single way. Kicking field goals. Punting. Covering punts. Covering kickoffs. Returning kickoffs. Anything you can think of that's special, they're not so special.
It feels like this year, if the 49ers get knocked out of the playoffs, it's going to be because something on special teams. That's what it feels like to me. You just can't trust them. And it's long overdue. I don't understand why they haven't fixed this. It's always been a problem under Kyle Shanahan. And, you know, I think part of it is his philosophy. What he said last week was, I don't want them to lose the game for me. They don't need to win the game. Just don't lose the game for me. No, your mentality should be that they're great and that you want them to win games by how great they are. So maybe that's where the problem starts. He just doesn't care enough about it, doesn't prioritize it enough, but it's going to come back to bite him, like this offensive line. Those are if the 49ers don't go all the way this year, which honestly, I don't have a huge assumption that they will, it's probably going to have something to do with either the offensive line or special teams.
And what's interesting is like in the last Super Bowl, instead of blaming himself for not knowing the rules, he essentially blamed defense, Steve Wilks, but also special teams. Like Ray McLeod, you fumbled that punt, you bum, go away. It's like, okay, well, have you fixed that problem? Because now you got Kyle Juszczyk returning punts. No, you know we're a week away from returning punts? Trent Taylor.
I know.
You knew it was going to happen, and here we are.
Yeah.
A little gift for October.
I hope not. I'd rather see Juice do it. At least he gets paid a lot of money. Go catch the punts.
David Baker wants to know when Kinlaw's coming back.
David Baker always has the good questions.
When they in 10 years, when they do a little commemoration of the team that went to the Super Bowl and lost 2023, he'll be there. Raziki says, Grant, what's your favorite Bollywood movie? You got me.
I can't even think of one.
You got me on that one. Sorry about that. Well, look,
this is of all time. What's the greatest movie of all time?
The greatest movie of all time? Mm-hmm. I think the correct answer is The Godfather. And you can make the argument that it's The Godfather 2, but I think it's got to be one of those two movies. Or you could be a troll and say Goodfellas.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Casino. No. But I like Casino. I do like Casino a lot. It's my one. It's a very long movie. It's like I mean, I generally don't like long movies, but Casino and Godfather, I'll watch all 3 hours if it's on TV.
Are you going to feel differently about me when you find out mine is Goonies?
That's a great movie. All-time great.
Amazing
Goonies.
Movie. Sentimental.
Lost Boys, also a good one.
Yes, filmed in Santa Cruz.
Filmed in Santa Cruz. Also another really good one, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's about this guy who loses his bike and then he has to go to San Antonio to get it back. There's a lot that happens. You laugh, you cry. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's ahead of his time. He was a loner, a rebel. Anyway, that's our show. Thanks for watching. We will be back every day doing the best I think I got the idea for the title from that show when we were kids, the best damn sports show period with Michael Irvin and John Sally. Stole it.
There you go. We should have.
I haven't had one original idea.
We should have added damn, the best damn 49ers podcast.
The best damn. Well, then we'd get copyright.
Yeah.
So now we're just inspired by them.
Yeah,
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Subscribe to that joint, son.
Oh yeah, subscribe to that. It's great. It's so good. Bye, everyone.